Now let's see the rest of Hilbert curve. So what does happen if you set the scores? So here we see that if the best Waldo path and best bonders have been 40 and 2 respectively, it lowers everybody's scores because nobody did 2 bonders. Now look what happens here. Second place gets dropped to 4th place, 5th place. And this score, 2.872, that's only good enough for 6th place. So it was well worth considering how the scoring would work out in deciding what approach to take. And it looks like going for a 2 bonder solution was not the best to do. What was best to do was 1 Waldo. So in last place, we have 15th place, JFB 1337. Well, he's one of the people who, in spite of not scoring so well against everybody else, he did do all the puzzles. And Twisty and Cactus both have that distinction as well. So well done for sticking with it. Let's see how this works. Okay, so we're building sticks 2, 1, and 2. 3 of them are 2, 1, 2. One of them is a 1, 2, 1. And here's our loop. Pick them up, put them together. Now this solution is not rotating the first 4x4, so we have to change our programming. It means more symbols to do different programming. Now we're doing 1, 2, 2. Still some 2, 1, 2s, so that always helps. And another 1, 2, 2. No, 2, 1, 2. Okay, 2, 1, 2, and then one more. 1, 2, 2. Using the sensor to detect the sheet getting to a height of 8 and outputting it. All right, 100 symbols. So this was our highest symbol count. Cycle count, well, 400 to do one, so 485, 4,800 to do all 10 of them. And so with so many things to look at here, yeah, 46, 15, 100. But one thing that hurt is, oh, we could have saved a Waldo path just by doing that. And then there are some other optimizations that could have been done. So if you start the this construction in here, the only thing we're doing is when blue comes up here, it runs down here and comes back and then goes up here. This flip-flop is only so that blue will pass on through there. It's what we can do here instead is this. Move this down here. Get rid of that. Actually, we didn't want to get rid of that. We want to move that over there and put that in like that. And then we can get rid of all those symbols. Now let's see how this works. Whoops. Not quite right. What else did we need to do? We couldn't get rid of all the sinks. We need to keep that one right there. No, still wrong. Oh yes, because I've moved blue back here, it needs to pass through one more sink, so red also needs to pass through one more sink, which is a good thing because we can put red right there. And there's our synchronize, and change this and get rid of another symbol. Now let's see. There we go. So this, well, that gets our symbol count down to 95, which is not that important. It not being that important, that means with Waldo path more important, we can just go ahead and do that. One more symbol to get rid of that. Because yes, unfortunately, the way the Waldo path calculation works is that path sticking out there that's never used still counts against the Waldo path. There are further optimizations that could have been done here. Okay. 16 more cycles, but we say 4 symbols, that's worth it. And actually, did we improve our Waldo path? Instead of using these two down here, we use those two up there. So it was not an improvement to the Waldo path particularly, well, except for that one. Nevertheless, well done. Next up, Twistia. JFB scores 2.29. Twistia's 2.465. And we see why that is. Twistia used the entire reactor. So, but once again, because the best on the Waldo path was 41, a score of 80, still scoring a bit better than half a point. So the penalty for using the entire reactor is not as big as the penalty for using lots of, well, for having a high minimum on the red-blue count. So let's see how this works. Okay, very nice that we are starting back a little ways so that we can set the flip-flops. Funny how that works. It seems you always want to set the flip-flops, or you'd like the flip-flops to start out set, but the game starts them not set. So okay, so once we've set the flip-flops, now we start building our sheet one stick at a time, doing the 2-1-2, and the next one controlled by blue. So that's going to be, there's our 2, 1, and 2. Okay, so this long stretch here is so that we don't have to have another synchronize, and we can add these two bonds in the middle. So we are going to do a, okay, here is our 1, 2, 1. No extra bond there, no extra bond there. After we've built that, then we are going to put bonds on the ends. There they are. Move to the next. So this is all this is programming for blue, and it took a lot of space in the reactor to do it. And now this is a technique that a lot of solutions use, putting in a quarter turn so we can repeat the programming. And another feature is, how did you use the sensor? Did you use it to detect the sheet? And this is another one that did. To detect that the sheet is now 8 rows high. So go up here and output it. Alright, so the sheet got built here where an output command, also very common. Keep the sheet partly sticking out of the output zone so that it's not output until you're ready. Some other solutions use the sensor, instead of detecting that the sheet was 8 high, like mine did, detect that the individual sticks are 4 long. So this one scores a little better, better on the symbol count. Well, an 80 on the Waldo path. The minimum, only 28 symbols for red, which unfortunately does, it's one of the best of the, a lot of people did mid-30s on symbols. 28, however, is only worth 0.034. Don't get a lot of points for that. And it's slow, 6166. But it does better than JFB's on the score, mainly because of the symbol count. So saving 11 symbols, well, 0.74, 11 symbols, but then we lose a lot on the Waldo path. 4 bonders. 4 bonders is what made the difference. Next up, Adamate in 13th place. Now let's see what he did. Okay, we have lots of empty space here. So this did much better on the Waldo path. And using 6 bonders, so starting a good ways back in order to set the flip-flops. Okay, so yeah, like another solution we've seen, we're going to build our stick with just a single bond, and then we're going to use another set of bonders to add double bonds where needed. And he is building it in this fashion, 2-2-1. We also can see there's a rotate command right here, so this is going to build the 4x4 section, rotate it, and then build the same thing attached appropriately. So yeah, 2-2-1, 2-1-2, 2-2-1, 2-1-2. What's nice about that is you can alternate well, it's a little more difficult. If it was 2-2-1, 2-1-2, 2-2-1, alternating would be very easy. But you can still handle it. Just got to do a little bit more complicated flip-flopping. Alright, here we are. Here is our rotate. Nicely done at the edge of the screen. And we are using the sensor to detect when our sheet is 8 high. And let's see what happens when we get 8 high. Alright, so blue is going to start working on the next one, and red, the sensor detects it and red outputs it. If it was only 4 high, we would have gone around this way and moved it up a row. Or if it was anything other than 8, I should say. Right, so a little bit better yet on the symbol count. Symbols and cycles still mattered, even with all the other categories. Yes, actually that was my slightly improved version. Let us have a look at the original. Oh yes, he had started right there, and I was the one who actually moved the start points back a little in order to get rid of a couple of symbols. Almost always worth. There we are, 79. Save 2 symbols, cost 20 cycles, worth it. Next up is aperture. So Adamate score of almost 2.6, 2.642 for aperture. How did he do it? Mainly by going faster. That was compensates for the higher Waldo path count. Adamate had a pretty good Waldo path, 53. And it's kind of funny. Nobody Nobody got really... Okay, so here's 50, and the high 40s completely skipped, and then after 50, we go straight to 41 for our... which was the best Waldo path. So let's see what aperture did. Okay, using 6 bonders, but this time we are on the first 2 bonders. We are putting in the 2 bonds and 1 bond right away. So we're using this pair of bonders then to build our 4x4. Once we have a 4x4, there's our rotate command, and then we will stick the 2 4x4 pieces together with these 2 bonders. So this is always nice, bounce back to get bonds appropriately. So red is carrying the atoms, and blue is running the program that determines whether we're going to have 2 bonds or 1. You see blue has plenty of flip-flops. What are we using the sensor for in this? We're not. We didn't. No, there it is, right there. Ah, we're using the sensor to detect when our stick is length 4, which is the other major use. Do you use it for the sheet of height 8 or the stick of length 4? So, and there we saw, well, I skipped past that, but it rotated this and left it in place on that bonder, ready to go. So we have built the same thing again. Okay, can't start bonding yet. Got to get that in position. So by starting the bonds at this end, that means we've got to run it out and back. And since we only wanted the double bond here, just drop it, make 2 bonds, now haul it back. All right, very nice. I see also the flip-flops are, for the most part, not paired up with arrows. On the red side they are. Could he have started back here? Yeah, he probably could have started back a ways. So what if we start right there? Is red going to run into a sink anywhere? And what we will do is we will change all 3 of those there, and we will get rid of those 3 symbols. And so this is going to increase our cycle count. But yes, it looks like it'll work fine. Okay. 32 more cycles, but 3 fewer symbols. Usually worthwhile. A symbol is almost always worth 10 cycles. We can check that. Let's check that. So what if this was 2916, 2642, and 77, 2665. Okay. Well, 200 higher score. Next up, cactus. Four bonders in an L shape and 2 bonders. So okay, so we're going to grow our stick, and our stick has already got our double bonds as needed, and we've built 2, 2, 1. So let's see how this works. Okay, no, only single bonded there. We add our double bonds here, and then we weld our rows together there. All right. And this is going to use a rotate. There's our rotate command, is it? No, that's just rotating for the stick. No, he did not rotate. So that means the programming's got to change. No, it doesn't. Ah, that's how he's doing it. He did not rotate this because he's going to rotate the second part. A little more awkward because you have to position the rotate so you don't crash into the other 4x4 piece. Let's see how that part works. Alright, so if it was the first one, we would just drop it there. Since this is the second one, rotate there. Position that. Okay. To our bonds. And actually, we're hitting all these extra bond commands. But that's okay because our bond limit is 6 prevents them. Those additional bonds. And there it is. So this one's going to be pretty fast, 223 cycles. Which helps with the higher symbol count on this. 2301, our fastest yet, 87. 54 on the Waldo path, pretty good. Mid-30s, 6 bonders. Mid-30s, unfortunately, does not score well in that category because several people figured out how to do this with just one Waldo. Next up, Pseudodude. And our Cactus, pretty good jump in score, almost 2.8. Pseudodude, another jump, 2.935. How did he do it? Very fast, 1841 cycles. Better on the symbols, but 7 bonders, 61 Waldo path. Those are not going to score so well. So let's see what Pseudodude did. Okay, this uses a rather nice technique. This is why we have 7 bonders. We are going to use 3 bonders to get our double bond here at the same time as adding a single bond. So a very nice way of building a 1-2-2 stick. There's our second 1-2-2 stick, but we can't build them all 1-2-2, so he is going to build them all 1-2-2, which means after we've built this, this was mostly right, so now we've got to do some bond rearranging down here. That means there's got to be, there's our bond minuses. Okay, take a bond away. Take those 2 away. Add those 2 in. So, okay, so the 1-2-2s got turned into 2-1-2 with this little section right here, which fixes our bonds. All right, but we're still not done. We've got to have another bond there. How are we going to handle that? This is how. Handed it off to Blue, and Blue will take care of. There's that bond, and there's that bond. Now are we right? We are right. And a final rotate, because these same bonders are going to be used to glue our 2 4x4 sheets together. Well, it evidently saved on the symbols doing it that way. And did he use the sensor? Yes. How does this sensor work? Okay, this is interesting. Neither detecting the stick of length 4. He is using the sensor to detect when the sheet is size 4 rows tall. So very fast, 1841. Not bad on the symbol count. But the other, high Waldo path, and not trying for a good spot on the minimum red-blue. So 9th place. Next up is Night Fox. Scoring a little better. Now Night Fox got his minimum red-blue down to just 13. Let's have a look at that. Yeah, look at this. 63 symbols, so that's very good. That's almost our best symbol count there. Okay, so we are using 2 bonders to build a stick with 1 bond each. Okay, yes. 1 bond, add in appropriate number of bonds here, so we're doing 2, 1, 2, and then obviously these 2 are for building our sheet. One thing about this solution, no rotate command anywhere. So that means a little extra programming. Okay, 2, 1, 2, 2 bonds there. And that is why we have all these flip-flops here. So we kind of go all these different directions, all these different programs. Okay. So making that a double bond if necessary, because making blue stop there. Okay, so this creates... Oh no, there's our rotate. Alright, well that cuts down on the programming. So yeah, we are actually getting the double bonds, the vertical ones first, and then finishing up, which makes it a little trickier because you can't use the maximum bond when you do it this way. That's okay though, he doesn't need it the way he's doing it. And because of the positioning though, that got an extra double bond we didn't want, so we need to take it off. And what are we doing with our sensor? I don't see a sensor command anywhere. Didn't use it. Well, it didn't have to use it. And so 2212, pretty fast. Best symbol count yet. And the other categories. And this was our best, our 13 on the minimum red blue, which was only worth 0.071. So sorry, Night Fox. Wish that had been worth a bit more. But that's the thing, you gotta check these scores. Next up, Counterpoint. Counterpoint and Brookie both tied for our best Waldo path at 41, so he gets a full point there. Mid-30s on the minimum red-blue. Fairly fast. How did he score better than Night Fox? Mainly because of the big improvement in Waldo path, since every other category is worth. We're into the 3s now. 3.064 for Night Fox, 3.138 for Counterpoint. Let us see what Counterpoint did. Look how compact this is. Half the reactor is empty of red and blue. So we are using the sensor. It looks like we're using the sensor the way Pseudo did. Detect when our sheet is 4 rows high. And when we detect that, we will come down here, give it our 90-degree rotation. Which way are we building this? Getting the appropriate number. So by having blue wait on a sink, red can then put in 1 or 2 bonds as needed. Then over here, blue is not waiting on synchronize, so red has to, let's see, no, on the last sync, red will get to the one of these routes that will put the appropriate number of vertical bonds in place. Okay, here's our rotate. Okay, we are not welding the next row on right away. I thought that would have gone up there, but no. So blue taking this path, or red taking this route. I thought that was a very nice reuse of those bond plus. Have this go around like that, because that will get the two end piece, skip two in the middle, end piece. Let's see how that works. Here's a single bond, double bond. And then we got to do all 4 bonds. And note also he used the technique of putting the start back a ways in order to get the flip-flops set before beginning to build. Which means you do have to well, we have to pass through one more sink, so blue starts right there. Very nice. Oh, had to use an additional arrow in order to do that. Was there any way to avoid using that arrow? Doesn't look like it. If we had welded this together on that sheet up here, could we have saved those 2 bonders? Maybe. But one of the things about this, when we have the last row, we are actually creating these bonds and those bonds at the same time. So double bond, we want double bonds on all these. We are saved from creating, we don't want double bonds here, and we're saved from that by the bond limit of 6 on molybdenum. And this last one, we also do not want double bonded. What happens there is because they are off by 1 column, so we have already created our last double bond here before we get here. And so our sensor drops that off and output. Okay, very nice. 2560, 70. That is our 8th place solution. Blue-eyed rat next. Blue-eyed rat tried for some 20 on the minimum red-blue. Sadly, that was only worth 0.048. 4 bonders, though. So that compensates for having, well, a little bit decent on the symbols. But the 4 bonders is what made his score better, 3.219. And Zig only just a teensy bit more, 3.223. So let's see what Blue-Eyed Rat did. Blue-Eyed Rat likes to send in his solutions fairly early. Yeah, and we see here not many red symbols. So we are using only 4 bonders. And in order to do this, now this sort of thing is slow, but he still managed to do it in 3,000 cycles, 3,200 cycles. So, okay, 212 pattern. And then position that there. All right. Using the sensor to detect when our stick is length 4. So now here's our 121 pattern. Blue is controlling how many horizontal and how many vertical bonds. So that meant for down here was a pretty complicated. Yeah, this is our 212. So by going through this twice, with no bonder there, and that gets our 1. On there, exit out. Okay, welding them together. So how does this work? If we're adding double bonds each time, we are getting the correct number of bonds thanks to bonder limit again. Only 1 bond there. This one had to use a different area to weld that together. We only wanted the bonds in the middle, and had we hit the all 4, we would have created extra bonds that we didn't want. There is our first 4. No rotate command anywhere, so Blue-Eyed Rat is just gonna, now he's switched to 221. Now this is going to make a 212 using our all 4 and save from that by bond limit. Up here, okay, that was very nice. Get that. There's our 221. And we have figured out that we are 8 high by when we run through all the flip-flops, we will finally come out here. Makes it a little harder when you don't use a rotate, but this very well done. 7th place, and very close to 6th place. Zig. What is going on here? Well, we have another very few red symbols. 17, so 0.056 for that. As Zig's is fast. A few more symbols, a little more wall path, and 4 bonders. Okay, there's when you only use 4 bonders, you really about have to. You can't build a stick with just 1 bond, then add in the double bonds on another set of bonders if you're only going to use 4. So we are using the technique of making red wait on all these sinks so that blue can add in a double bond or not. Yeah, blue. Oh, and blue is hitting the input command as well. Okay, so look at all this programming that had to be done to get this to work for blue. Pretty intricate in here. But here we have a rotate, so yes. After our first set of 4, grab, hold, rotate. And what are we using our sensor for? Detect when our sheet is 8 high. Because each time at 4 and 8, when blue comes through here, we certainly don't want to rotate it when it's 8 high, so we hit our output command just as red drops off, which makes it necessary for red and blue to have the, you can't switch red and blue when we're doing this sort of thing. Oh, well, we weren't going to grab that anyway, so why did we come down here? Purely for timing purposes, it looks like. So, fairly fast, 2231. Symbol, 74. Next up, in 5th place, Laylight. This is the one Waldo solution. So, however, it's much slower and uses plenty of symbols. Waldo path's pretty high, and 7 bonders. But the no commands. Which color did he use? Yes, these are very important questions. Did he use the red Waldo or the blue? He used the red Waldo. So let's see how this works. All right, we are building just a single bonded stick at first, using the sensor to detect when the stick is size 4. Okay, so we have not... All right, we are just building a 4x4 sheet when everything's single bonded. So we need to add the double bonds, and that is going to be done down here with this cluster of bonders. Let's see how that works. Counting up to 4. Once we have a 4x4 sheet, we come down here. All right, since this pattern, each 2x2 corner, 3 of the 4 bonds need to be double bonds. So by making all 4 of them double bond, there, and we're going to do it. Okay, well, we got that bond. Okay, so he chose to make this one. Okay, now that we've done that, we need to get rid of some excess bonds. So that was what that did. So now this section is correct. And we need to get rid of that bond and add that bond. Very nice. I'll rotate. Alright, there's adding that and taking that off. Rotate again, drop it off because we are going to use these same bonders to glue the 2 halves together. Alright, so now we build our second 4x4 piece. And one of the problems always with this is when you store one of these, you got to make sure you don't crash into that. I'm sure that restricted his options here. Yeah, because we're pushing right up against it. And now, because this is the second one, we are going to position this there. Okay, move that back over. And now, hook them together. Get our double bond, grab hold. Oh, that's nice. Using the make both those at once instead of having 2 bond commands to do them one at a time. In any case, we couldn't do it that way because that would have made that a triple bond. Drop it off. All right. We are already at our bond limit, so when we hit this bond command, we will not increase that bonds. All right, very nice. So there's our 5th place solution. Bit slow, 4584, but that's the price you pay when you use just one Waldo. Oh, yes. Let's see, we could have gotten rid of 1 symbol right there. And it would have delayed us 1 cycle. I mean, if a symbol is worth 10 cycles, it's certainly worth 1 cycle. Laylight just missed that one. Could we have done better? Here's a arrow and a flip-flop that maybe could be improved if we put our start down there. Then what happens is we get rid of that symbol, but now we increase our Waldo path. Not good. So well done. Fourth place. Fourth place, interesting. We have a unique solution that has one command for one of the Waldos, which cost a half a point. A big cost to have one command. The blue is going to hammer on a bond command, so you might think that will help you reduce your symbol count, and it does. This is 60 symbols, our lowest symbol count. One other person got 60 symbols as well. So let's see how this works. Well, we are using 7 bonders. So we create, very similar to ley lights, just make a 4x4 sheet all single bonded. Then, okay, now we gotta, so this is nice. We're only using 3 bonders here in order to yeah, add those 2 bonds. Rotate. So with the 3 bonders, we're adding each corner at a time, aren't we? Well, we added that, and that did nothing. Added that, and that did not increase because of bond limit. We need to add this bond. But if we add this bond right here, we're going to get a double bond there, and that's no good. So instead, rotate. Oh no, we were done. Didn't need to add any more bonds at all. And store. Alright, do the next half. And we are using this sensor to detect when we have made 4 rows. So of course this has to be done delicately so we don't run into this. And that's the, you have to do rotates, like if you're going to rotate from the edge, from a corner like that, it has to be right up against it. There's just, it's the only place that can be done. Alright, how did we get this last little bit? That's how. Okay, yes, I keep forgetting that with the blue hammering on the bond command. Red hardly needs to, yeah, does red do any bond plus anywhere? It's only doing bond minus. Okay, we could not position this there because if we had done so, that would have made that a triple bond, which couldn't be undone. This way, though, single bond, single bond, single bond. We need that to be our double bond, which is easily accomplished just by leaving it on the bonder. How do we stop it from becoming a triple bond? Oh, okay. Bond minus. And now, because red goes before blue, it outputs it before blue can add another bond. So that's why blue was hammering on the bond command. So, excellent. An almost one Waldo solution. Best symbol count, pretty fast too. 4th place. 3rd place, Brookie's entry in this tournament. Brookie's is our fastest one, 1502 cycles. Score is very close. Dryas won 3.591, Brookie 3.599, so almost 3.6. And our 2nd place solution, Tough Thought, 3.601. So just a hundredth of a point difference between all 3 of those. Let's see what Brookie did. Very fast. Tied for best Waldo path. Mediocre well, bad on the minimum red blue, pretty good on the bonders, 5 bonders. And here, 78, mediocre symbol count. But the fast speed, best Waldo path, and bit lower use of bonders, good enough for 3rd place. So let's see how this one works. Okay, so we are building our sticks. The sensor will be used to detect when our sheet is 8 high. Okay. Okay, so the reason this is fast is because we're doing basically a double pump. Red is building the odd rows, or red's holding the odd rows, while blue programs them with the appropriate number of bonds. And then blue will build the even rows, and yes, using the same technique that Pseudodude did with 3 bonders here in order to get our double bonds. So we get our 1, 2, 2 formation that way. Okay, there's our rotate. And now we just keep on adding more rows. So we don't need another set of bonders in the middle to do to weld the 2 halves together. And because red is building the odd rows, let's see how that works. Okay, the 1, 2, 2. Yeah, so if we hold them on a sync, then we can do our 2, 1, 2 by when we hit the synchronize, blue will move on, and these 2 bonders will get our 2 bond there. Just in time, because then the next cycle we start our vertical bonds, which has to be programmed its own way. And so double pumping is usually pretty fast. In this case, the fastest solution. 1502, well done, 3rd place. And this is the best solution that did not use a 1 Waldo. So showing that you didn't have to go with 1 Waldo to do well. Our 2nd place solution, just 0.02 of a point better, is Tough Thought. 1 Waldo, using the red Waldo. So that's two red ones. We'll have to see. Everybody favors red. Okay, well, we're doing our start well back in order to set flip-flops to save symbols. Symbol count 70. And look at all the flip-flops in here. This is very complicated. Tough Thoughts was also the slowest solution. So the Waldo has got to go all over the place. So yeah, 100 cycles just by the time we got to our 20 cycle loop. Okay, so he's building the 2, 1, 2. And 4 bonder solution. 2 bonders there, 2 bonders there. And of course the technique of when we detect that we are 8 high, we will move our sheet over 1 column and output it. This actually, let's see. Well, let us see how we weld our vertical. This is kind of interesting. So here's our 1, 2, 1 formation. Now what we've got to do is bond these together. Okay, so grab hold. And this is pretty neat here. In order to get this correct, so we're going to create 3 bonds, but we're taking 1 away. Tough Thought used this technique to good effect in several places. Build up to 3 using the 3 limit. Okay, so that was our all four bonds. And by choosing to build that vertical connection first, oh, there we go. We went up to 3 and back down to 2. He does that. That cuts down on the worrying about if we had built the all double bonded row last, we would have to worry about bond limits here. Well, that's not right. We are making 2 bonds. Now we can go ahead and make, hit all those bond commands and not make too many bonds, because now our maximum bond limit of 6 is going to play an important role. Alright, so here we go again. We would be double bonding all these things. We only want to make double bonds on the outside, not the inside. We will be prevented from double bonding on these inside ones by the bond limit. So very clever. And here, while we are sitting on this bonder, go up to 3, back down to 2. Note also there is no rotate command in here. So that's why we have so many flip-flops, because we're going to have to build, after we've built this first 4, we've got to build the next 4 a little differently. Now this time we want the double bonds on the insides. So how are we going to prevent double bonds from forming on the outside? Well, this is pretty clever. Okay, we have our 4 single bonds. Now look what happens here. We're going to use the bond limit anyway. Because we already have 4 bonds here, when we attempt to create 3, we fail to create the third one thanks to bond limit, and then we back off. So we end up with 1 bond on the outside, get our double bonds on the inside, and now this is the same thing. When we come down here, we are at 2 bonds. Well, actually no, there. We tried to go up to 3 and we could not because of bond limit, and now we back off. So beautiful. Now, how is this part going to work? Because now we can't do our 2, 1, 2. Well, we will need 2, 1, 2s, but we're going to need a 2, 2, 1. So that's what is going on down here. And now, when we weld this together, we are going to want to bond here twice and just 1 bond on these. So bond limit, and well, we only want to do 1 bond there. Is that right? Yeah, we only want to do 1 bond there. Well, how is that handled? Okay, so up to 3, back down to 2. That was the only place we want. Bond limit will prevent us from creating bonds there. This one, though, okay, we're using flip-flops, so we avoid that bond. And that's how we get that back down to 1 bond. All right, well, now we got to create a 2, 1, 2. Which is handled here. And we've got to bond this correctly. Once again, bond limit will prevent us from creating too many bonds. We want the outside ones to have 2 bonds. So we go up to 3, back down to 2. Oh, we did want that to be a double bond. Yes. Bond limit prevents that from being a double bond. And this one, yes, we do want that to be a double bond. So Okay. Using our, let's see, what are we doing here? We have an extra bond there. We need to get rid of it. Okay, using bond limit again. We could not go to 3 because we're already at the max. And now for our last row. 2, 2, 1. Back down to 2. Okay, and this time we are going to avoid building a triple bond there because of our sensor, which will drag it over the last column. Now, no bonders to affect it and output it. 1104 cycles to get that first one out. So this solution is our slowest, over 10,000 cycles. $1,626. Well done, second place. But in first place, we have Rezuns. So how did he do it? 1 Waldo and 60 symbols. And it's reasonably fast. It's about middle of the road on speed, 3,500. So that's 0.42. Scored almost a full 1/10 of a point higher than second place. Decent on the Waldo path, and of course one Waldo, so that it didn't matter that he used 8 bonders. You just don't get punished very much for 8 bonders in this setup, well, especially since nobody did a 2 bonder solution. But even if anybody had, this would still get first place. Well, unless of course that 2 bonder solution itself got first. So let's see how this is working. All right, we are not building our double bonds yet. We're just simply building our sheet, and look at that. Left out that bond. So get our 4x4 sheet built. Left out. Oh, that bond got debonded because we moved on to this cluster of 4 here. Now that we have our sheet, we've got to add the correct number of bonds to it. So how is that done? Okay. Make those 4 double bond, then take away that one. Yeah, we saw that on one of the other solutions. All right, but we had bond limit preventing that, so that only added bonds there. And we're going to do the same here, yes? And that did not add a double bond there because that was down to no bonds. And this was very clever, I thought. When we got over here, we used these cluster of 4 bonders to get these last 2 double bonds right there. So our pattern is taking shape. We just need to get this side done. Okay, so if we drop it off, because we have no bond there, that's going to go up to 1, so that's going to finish that just like that. Now this last cluster, and we're going to use the same technique we used over here. Make all 4 of them, and then move it down a row and take away that last bond. So there is our first sheet, 4x4. Use the rotate, because of course when we'll park that there, we'll build our next sheet, and then we'll use this cluster to put our 2 halves together. So the sensor got used to detect when our sheet was size 4, right there. It's always more interesting to see how this bonding gets done with this in the way. So you see how bounce back there. The rotate there, that becomes clear. Once again, we're using all the space we've got. And even the use of those 4 bonders over there to get those, brilliant. All right, our 2 halves are done. Now, how do we do the final weld? Okay, we took away that bond so that it became a double bond. Prevented from double bonding by limits. Okay, and hit that bond again. All right, how are we going to deal with this? Yes, we're going to hit that minus again. So we create a double bond here, and then we take it away. And there it is. Very nice. Come through here, bounce back, output it. That's how he got down to just 60 symbols. There it is, first place, 3576, 60 symbols. This was not his first submission. Here is his slightly older one. You can see it's almost the same solution, especially out here, just a less efficient. More symbols, 67 more symbols, and a bit slower. So what he did is he cleaned up this area and that. Let's see how long this one takes. Yes, by grabbing hold there instead of there, saved a few symbols. Had to add in a bond minus to clean things up, because this one is coming down to this row where we are not doing so many bond plus commands. Still had to take that away. Okay, very good. So this would have scored very well, but maybe not first place with a little bit worse symbol count. And also a little bit higher on the Waldo path. So well done. Congratulations, Rezunes, on your first place standing in Hilbert Curve. And congratulations to Tough Thought for winning the tournament overall. I hope everybody had fun. And we'll I don't know who's going to run a tournament next year. I don't think it will be me. I'd really rather participate. But hopefully we will see everybody next summer for Space Chem Tournament 2018.